quorum for our meeting. Thank you for being here today. I know it will be a nice sunny day, so we will get on with our meeting. We'll begin this morning with our public forum for those who are present and have signed up to testify. Members of the public who wish to provide testimony but could not be here in person may join us virtually after we have heard from those who are present and have signed up to testify. Anyone virtually yet? No? Okay, thank you. For all of those who are offering testimony this morning, please direct your comments to TriMet and our transit-related services rather than other topics. We also ask that your comments be limited to 3 minutes. We note that, for you to note that there will be a time indicator to help you comply with this request, and we ask that you respect the time for those that will follow you as well. If you are unable to limit your comments to the 3 minutes, you may provide additional comments in writing. TriMet staff can provide an email address for you to send those written comments to the board. We welcome your information and letters as board members. Also, please note that we definitely appreciate your testimony that you will bring today. If you ask a question or do expect us to respond or raise an issue, it will be noted for the record, and the general manager will reach out and ask staff to get back to you after the meeting. If you're still here, they can connect during the break. Now I will call up to the testimony table, 2 at a time, our first 2 people that are testifying this morning. Okay, our first 2 is Wesley Brown. Is Wesley Brown? Good morning. Okay, come up and just grab a seat there. And Abby Griffith. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, Wesley, you may proceed when you're ready.
Attending Athey Creek Church, which is located at 2700 Southwest Eck Road in Westland, Oregon. For about over 10 years, I had made arrangements with one of the pastors to pick me up at Meridian Park Hospital, which is over 3 miles away, to take me to and from the church. Which that part worked good, but only except when there was either an extra church event like a picnic, Christmas play, outside the normal church service. And trying to ask for rides was like pulling teeth. Either people weren't going, or something else was happening, or like their whole family fills up the whole car and they did not have extra seats available to help somebody else that needed a ride. And Athey Creek Church is located in West Lid and 2700 Southwest Eck Road. And the bus routes form a downward facing C with Oregon State Transit Center on the east side, east end of that C, and Meridian Park Hospital on the west side of the C. And Athey Creek Church is right in the middle of that opening C. And both the Oregon State Transit Center and the Meridian Park Hospital like about 3 miles away. And this went good, except, like I said, with the extra church activities like picnics, Christmas plays, etc. Then this pastor had to leave the church. And since then, it was hard for them to find somebody to give me a ride. And I had to change churches because of it. And then also, when I ride on the streetcar, I notice now when there's either a delay because of lack of operators or something or other, that seems that this has gotten to be more of the norm and not the exception. And I think that's basically the end of my testimony. Go ahead. Go ahead, Abby.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Abby?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I am Abby Griffith, and I am here today to invite board members and everyone who are able to attend to the community event and the challenge that will be happening uh, later this year. Um, Many of you may have heard about the Week Without Driving Challenge. The Week Without Driving Challenge is that people like policymakers, decision makers like you um, take a week to put your key away and get around by bus, train, bike, and either you can ask for a ride, like just like Wesley said, it's hard to ask for a ride, and sometimes people reject him. He can't um, get ride. So that kind of things you have to just don't drive, but get around by taking transit. Um, a week without driving started in 2021 in Washington State. I am proud to say I was part of uh, that program and helped to launch. In collaboration with Disability Rights Washington and America Walks, I got grant to organize Week Without Driving challenge and storytelling session for non-drivers like myself in Portland this year. And I am inviting all of you to join us. We will be meeting at Charles Jordan Community Center in North Portland, August 23rd, 11 a.m. We will be having lunch, and we would appreciate all of you for joining us and listening to community members and storytelling and sign up for the challenge. Um, all our members, transit riders who work with me, have been advocating for 2025 transportation package. We've been going to Salem and virtually and written testimony asking for more funding for the TriMet, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it will happen. And we want a better transit, and that works for all of us. I love riding TriMet, and I know we all do, and I don't have any other choice to get around. And I wanted to organize this event so you all can hear our story and we can hear your non-driving story too. I hope you can make it. The place we will be meeting again in gym building, Charles Jordan Community Center in North Portland, August 23rd at 11 a.m. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abby, and thank you, Wesley. The board members and many of TriMet will be in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to call up Mark Ketch, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Good morning, Mark.
Yes, my name is Mark Kneck, and I reside at 14145 Southwest 105th Avenue, Tigard, Oregon, over there in the Sapphire Rehab. And on the bus route coming towards the 94 route coming towards Tigard, the bus driver has gone by and he's not seen me. That's happened a couple different times, and then it happened over on the 76 route last night. I'm sitting right there, they can't see, you know. Then another thing too, you know, that I have been working very diligently and very hard to try and get transportation for veterans to certain things. And I don't know what else to do. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I guess lady over here is going to give me something. We have our DAV board meeting this Saturday. And so I'll take what she's going to give me, that, so that I can give that, and I'm also a member of the American Legion. So that's about the only thing I have to say today, but the bus drivers gotta pay a little more attention. I mean, they go by and then they don't see us. I don't understand how they could do that. All right, if the bus is full, they don't have room for a wheelchair, okay, I can understand that. But when they go by and don't even stop, I mean, you know? Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for your service. The General Manager and Eileen will follow up with you.
All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I think that is it for our testimony. Anything for virtual at this time? Okay, with no other members of the public signed up to testify at this time, I will close the public forum. We will now proceed to the board report section of our business meeting. Instead of holding a regular meeting, the Committee on Accessible Transportation, CAT, held its annual luncheon last week. Our board representative on the CAT committee, Director Graham, was unable. Oh, no, Director Graham was there, and so was I. But TriMet Director Eileen Turvey attended and will be giving us the report. Okay, no, she's not here today, but she was in attendance. Yes.
She was so inspired, she was rendered speechless.
Yes.
Good morning, President Lewis,
morning.
members of the board, General Manager DeSue. I'm so happy to be here with you today and share a glimpse into the recognition, celebration, and partnership that occurred last Wednesday when we did the annual report for the CAT, the Committee on Accessible Transportation. At TriMet, we are guided by the belief that public transportation should serve everyone without exception. But building a truly inclusive transit system takes more than good intentions. It requires partnership, insight, and lived experience. That's exactly what the CAT has brought to our agency for almost 4 decades. This committee is comprised of individuals who represent and advocate for older riders and those with disabilities. They've played a pivotal role in shaping the accessibility of our transit system. They've been our eyes and ears and voices for accountability, and they've been our partners in progress. From evaluating new vehicle designs and reviewing accessibility policies, to identifying service gaps and pushing for innovation, the CAT has ensured that accessibility is never an afterthought. It's at the forefront of all decisions we make and all that we do. They have helped us establish new standards, not just for TriMet, but for the whole public transit industry as a whole. I can't tell you how often I'm at conferences and people come to me and say, "What are you guys doing? That's so amazing." And it's not just about the accessible transportation program. It's in our service policy, service planning team. It's in our major projects team. It's in our finance team. It's in our safety and security. It's in fair revenue. It's in everything we do at TriMet. And because of the committee's leadership and feedback, TriMet has made important accessibility advancements, such as improved wayfinding at bus stops and transit centers, audio announcements that are clearer and more consistent, and safer, more accessible service on our buses and trains. They've helped shape training for operators. CAT used to have 1 meeting every other month. They have a meeting a week now because they go to new operator training for bus. They go to new operator training for rail. They're at lift operator training. They have a fixed route subcommittee, a lift subcommittee, and a wayfinding subcommittee. And all of these committees have partnerships from TriMet that help make the moves forward. They've advocated for better paratransit service and reminded us again and again that dignity, independence, and mobility go hand in hand. As JC shared last week, their work is more than technical, it's transformational. They've helped us not only meet federal requirements, but exceed them. They've helped us see that the ADA that will celebrate the 35th anniversary of this July is not the ceiling of what we should be doing, it's the floor. They know that accessibility is not just about buses with ramps and lifts. It's a system that is safe for older adults and people with disabilities. Accessibility is a system that is affordable for those who need it most. Accessibility is service information that can be received and perceived by everyone who needs it. That's regardless of their ability to read or understand English, regardless of their ability to see or hear. Accessibility is a system that is physically accessible, with the ability to reach stops and stations and board vehicles without steps or stairs. And with functional elevators and tactile paths to promote wayfinding, accessibility is operators being respectful to allow riders their dignity. Accessibility is inclusive in planning and design, and accessibility is core to who TriMet is. And that's because of the members of our committee and everyone in this room and everyone in this room that's represented here. The partnership that exists between TriMet and CAT is so critical to making all of these changes. And so at the luncheon, we really celebrate all of those folks who go unsung so often every day. Well, I guess that's the end of what I had to say on my notes. So we really highlighted the partnerships and called out the folks who are doing the good work, who help CAT get to yes so often. And we invite you to the Transit Mobility Center on July 25th, Friday the 25th. We'll be celebrating the 35th anniversary of the ADA, and that really will help us catapult into the next fiscal year in achieving so much more. And we're so thrilled that you are a part of it and that your support has been critical along the way. So thank you to those of you who are able to attend, and we'll look forward to seeing the rest of you next year. It will be from 11 to 2 at 710 Northeast Holiday Street.
Thank you, Eileen. Are there any other questions for Eileen for the luncheon and the committee on CAT? Okay. Thank you. Seeing none, we'll move to our next report. Next, I'll ask Director Flowers to present the report from the recent meeting with the Metropolitan Policy Advisory Committee, Impact. Director Flowers.
Yeah, you'll have to forgive me, Chair Lewis. I was absent, actually, at that meeting. I was in Norway on a best practices trip. I got a chance to explore a different transit system, though, and a different approach to financing public transit at scale. It was really remarkable to see what the city of Oslo in particular has done with their waterfront. They have, thank you so much, you're a lifesaver. This is why we give staff all the kudos, because they make us look good. I'll briefly touch on the Norway thing, and then I'll come back to the staff report here. But in Norway, they managed to actually tunnel their entire freeway system along the Oslo waterfront. And not only did they do that, they reduced the footprint of their port by about 50% and relocated it so that they could reactivate their Central City waterfront. It felt like a very relevant for us to model for us to be thinking about here in the city of Portland, a city that has so much water frontage that is so sorely underutilized, and a city that is so proudly transit focused. When we think about what it looks like for us to expand access to that system in the future, I don't think we can do that without talking about our freeways and the way that they connect to our waterfront. So with that, I'll jump into the notes that staff so kindly prepared from May's Impact meeting. Impact convened on May 28th to review current policy level land use happenings around the region. They prepared this in my voice, so I'm going to read it as if I wrote this myself, okay? I unfortunately wasn't able to attend, but we'll recap the meeting for the benefit of the TriMet board and everyone here today. Most importantly, the committee provided a successful endorsement of the 82nd Avenue Transit Project's LPA, the locally preferred alternative. Impact's May recommendation to endorse the LPA will go to Metro Council, where a formal vote and resolution will occur this summer. Other topics at the meeting included Metro staff updates on regional housing coordination strategy, a discussion of the Montgomery Park streetcar LPA, and their comprehensive climate action plan. The next Impact meeting is tonight. I'll be attending that one in person. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Director Flowers. Are there any questions comments for Director Flowers on his report, or speak with him after the meeting on his trip to Norway. It was Japan last time, but Norway this time. He gets around. Okay. Next, I will refer back to Director Flowers to present on his Interstate Bridge Replacement Project Tour. He and Director Graham were there, and also there are some photos, there they are, of the tour to be shown while Director Flowers. So turn your attention to the monitors for the photos as he gives an overview of his tour.
Yeah, we had the privilege of going out with TriMet staff to get a better understanding of some of the current challenges that we face on the interstate bridge connecting the state of Oregon to the state of Washington, the most essential corridor up and down I-5 as it pertains to that Oregon-Washington connection. As we know, this project has been a project that has been, many, many decades in the making. It used to be called the Columbia River Crossing. We've changed the name a couple times. It's now the Interstate Bridge Replacement Project. We had the opportunity to not only walk a significant portion of the bridge to go into the actual stations where staff man and operate the draw section of the bridge and also attend to any safety risks or crashes or notifications that they receive from other partner authorities. But we got to learn a little bit about what this bridge will look like once the IBR project is complete. It is pretty remarkable to think of where we sit as a state in this present moment. We have a series of major infrastructure projects that are going to fundamentally redefine the next 50 years of life in Oregon. Of course, this project is front and center. It is the most expensive, but also the most essential to ensuring the efficient movement of freight throughout this corridor of I-5, and also the efficient movement of people. And a big part, as we all know here at TriMet, of the revitalized interstate bridge will be a light rail line that runs from Portland into Vancouver. That is something we are extremely, extremely excited about, and something that we're quite excited to see come to fruition over the course of the next, I'm not gonna put a timeline on it, but however many years. So yeah, it was a great honor and privilege. Is there anything else that staff would wanna chime in and say about that tour? No, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, JT. Any questions, comments about the report on the project tour of the IBR project for Director Flowers? Okay. Seeing none, I will now direct to Director Kim for a report from this morning's Finance and Audit Committee meeting. Director Kim?
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Our TriMet Financial and Audit Committee met this morning, talked about 2 points briefly. One was the consent agenda item on budget transfer resolution. We would be moving funds from SNS to other divisions in fiscal year 2025 to keep us compliant with Oregon budget law. And second item was the resolution to adopt the TriMet's strategic financial plan. So the finance folks provided the strategic financial plan to board members. There were no further questions or suggestions. So today, the strategic financial plan will be coming forward, the resolution for adoption. Our Nancy, our CFO, will have a brief presentation on this item today. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Are there any questions or comments about the F&A committee report? Okay. Seeing none, now I will turn our meeting to our general manager for his monthly report.
Good morning, President Lewis. Good morning, board members. Good morning, TriMet staff and public. I am not Sam Dessou, as you know. Sam is recovering still from laryngitis, and so has asked that I present the general manager's report as well as introduce the board resolutions today. So I will do that. So in the general manager report today, we will cover a couple of things, starting with the statewide transportation package, which includes funding for transit. We'll also cover May ridership numbers. We're also going to cover the monthly performance analysis. Les Spittler will be up to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about our new pilot project, TriMet Next. We're going to have a safety and security update from Andrew Wilson, our Chief Safety Officer. And we will celebrate a couple of special awards that TriMet has received. So let's start down in Salem. The Oregon legislature is racing to approve House Bill 2025, also known as the Oregon Transportation Reinvestment Package. And because we all love a good acronym, it's the Oregon TRIP package, which contains a phased increase of 0.2% in the State Transportation Improvement Fund, or STIF rate. As you know, STIF is a critical resource for us and for transit in general. The current rate is 0.1%, which isn't enough to stave off our fiscal cliff, and many other transit agencies are in the same position as us or worse. So we were asking originally for a 0.4% increase. And while that amount that's in the bill now is not going to solve all of our financial problems, it will give us a significant boost, and it will provide a lifeline for a lot of our service that we would otherwise have to cut. So we're very excited and hopeful. The transportation package, however, still needs a 2/3 vote majority in the House and a 2/3 vote in the Senate. And then it would go to the governor's desk for approval. However, our understanding is that the governor is supportive of the bill and will sign it if it's passed. So the clock is ticking. There is definitely a time crunch here because the legislative session ends Sunday, June 30th. So we are all waiting to hear how this is going to go, but of course we will keep you posted as soon as we know more. Now let's take a look at May ridership. TriMet provided about 5.8 million rides in May. That's up 4.5% over May of 2024, and that is a statistic that Sam shared with the legislature down in Salem when he testified a few weeks ago, because that is a very good number indeed. In fact, we're continuing to see bus ridership recovering strongly. It was up 7.8%, looking at the weekly average. And max ridership was mostly flat in May, but keep in mind that we did have a 2-week service disruption in May on the Max Blue Line, and that caused us to use shuttle buses in place of train service. So our analysts believe that may have pushed bus ridership higher for the month while lowering max ridership a bit. Meanwhile, West ridership increased from 2024, with the weekly average up by 7.2%. Now I would like to invite our Director of Transit System Support Services, Les Spittler, up to give us our monthly operations analysis. Thank you, Les.
Good morning. Thank you, General Counsel Devine, General Manager Dessou. Good morning, President Lewis and members of the board. Here to present the monthly operations analysis overview for April of 2025. If we start with ridership, in April, 3 out of our 4 modes saw an increase, with ATP leading the way with over 10%. That's great to see. And as you heard, our ridership for May also increased. On the bus KPI page, boarding rides per revenue hour increased and hit a 2-year high. This indicates that ridership is keeping pace with service improvements and continuing to do well. Mean distance between failure increased compared to March of 25 and April of 2024 and exceeded the target. This is a great sign and reflects all the hard work that our bus maintenance department is putting into keeping our fleet in good working condition. On the max page, on-time performance is up compared to last year, but fell slightly from March of 2025. Mean distance between failure is nearly at target and up compared to April of 2024. Preventative maintenance compliance is nearly 100% for the month of April. Moving on to our accessible transportation program page, presently the ATP program is focused on improving the productivity in terms of rides per revenue hour, which can have an adverse impact on on-time performance. For April, rides per revenue hour improved from the year prior and compared to March of 25. However, on-time performance dropped compared to March of 25 and compared to April of 2024. This is due to a couple of reasons. One, productivity initiatives aimed at increasing the boarding rides per revenue hour, and revisions to the time buffer allowances in scheduling conventions. Buffer times at pickup and drop-off operations are necessary for customers, especially those using a mobility device. When the ATP leadership team looked at the buffer times that were baked into scheduling, they saw potential to tighten schedule slack. However, while trying to improve efficiency through reduced buffer time and also commingling multiple customers on board, on-time performance is being slightly affected. Preventable collisions are also above the threshold. I mentioned this last month, but I'll just remind the board and the public that TransDev, our contracted transportation partner, started a new safety program in January that has stricter definitions of preventable collisions. That has increased the number of reportable events, but hasn't made the system or service less safe. The ATP team and TransDev are discussing potential revisions to the strict interpretation while maintaining committed to safety at all times. The safety training program has also undergone a similar update to provide more comprehensive behind-the-wheel training. Complaints are also up, but appear to be leveling out. Again, I mentioned this last month, but ATP's customer service team is relatively new. They're all going through training, and one of the goals of the training is to report incidences and concerns more accurately and consistently, and we expect those complaints to level out and regulate as that training continues. For Wes is always a star performer. Everything looks good and stable, so we're all good there. And then this last page is your one-stop shop for all of our KPIs. It's on a rolling 12-month basis, so May of 2024 through April of 2025. Thank you for your time this morning. That concludes my overview.
Does the board have any questions for Les? Nope. Okay. Thank you, Les. We'll move on to our next also exciting topic. This is an exciting update with the board about TriMet Next. Next, which stands for Neighborhood Express Transit, is a pilot program we've been developing to help people connect with their community. It's similar to ride-hailing services like Uber. TriMet Next works with a smartphone app that lets riders easily book a trip during service hours, and those service hours are from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. 7 days a week. And instead of going to a stop to wait for the bus, the next bus, which is smaller and completely accessible, comes to your location, usually taking less than 30 minutes. It can take you to the grocery store, the doctor's office, the MAX station, pretty much anywhere you want to go within the next service area. Right now, the pilot includes neighborhoods of Powell Valley and South Gresham, which are both in Gresham. And we're evaluating this service for older adults and people with disabilities within that service district. If the pilot is a success, we will look at ways to expand it to serve more riders. And one feature that sets our service apart from those ride-hailing apps is cost. TriMet's regular fare is the most that you'll pay. There will never be any surge pricing. So that puts us right there in the competitive range for sure. Next up, we've got Andrew Wilson, our Chief Safety Officer, to give us an update on safety and security. Thank you, Andrew.
Well, good morning, Board President Lewis and TriMet Board of Directors. I've seen those next buses in Gresham. They look great, so that's awesome. So real quickly, TriMet Safety and Security update for this month. I thought I'd go ahead and go to the next slide and look at fare enforcement check activity. You can see that uptick since September. It's been pretty significant and lots of good results coming in, which aren't necessarily on this screen. So we're excited about this new kind of emphasis on activity since September and the results that we're seeing. We're a little bit down, you can see this month in comparison with last. We actually had some retirement as well as some promotional activity out of this group of 47 that are on the ground doing this work. So we're down 5 right now, but we have a slew of applicants ready to do this work here at TriMet, so we're excited to get those numbers back up. But you can see we're kind of holding steady and pretty larger amount since September. So next slide, please. And this is just the fare and code enforcement citations that have been issued. Again, you can see us dipping a bit. You can see those numbers of the enforcement team are probably at play in there as well, but not quite a steep decline as the previous slide, which is the overall amount of activity that's actually happening and the folks that have actually been checked versus the citations given. So we're tracking those because we think that we are seeing more people paying, which is what we want from all of this activity. Next slide, please. We still have just this slide up because we don't want to lose any ground. Obviously, we'd like to get to 0 with smoke and fumes on both bus and rail. But you can see where we were a short time ago and where we are now. And so we've gained some significant ground there. And again, Senate Bill 1553 has been really helpful for us in this space as well. And we can go to the rail and you'll see that similar trend line. So good report there. We'll go to the next slide. Again, safety response team, activity was at its highest last month. We dipped a bit, but this team is doing great work. You can see that over 10,000 contacts on the system in May is still a very good result. And this team is doing great work on our system. If we go to the next slide, you can see the top 5 safety response team activities. Again, a lot of great work from this team, communicating with customers, also establishing a safety and security presence out there, which helps with the perception of safety as a rider. If you've ridden recently, if you're on the MAX or bus, if you see this team, they're a delightful group. They make contact with everybody on board, and they do make you feel safer. So, and that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Andrew. Does the board have any questions for Andrew? Great. Thanks so much, Andrew. Lastly, TriMet has received a few awards recently that I want to mention. First, the American Public Transportation Association, APTA, has recognized some amazing work by our Maintenance of Way team. I'm looking out there for John Weston. TriMet's Maintenance of Way, also known as, we call it MOW, has come up with an ingenious solution to keep our copper cables secured. Through rigorous testing, they found a way to bury the cables with a thick protective casing, making it just about impossible for anyone to mess with them. This is already improving our reliability and saving us money. And this is such an awesome fix that we recently learned that we received an APTA Innovation Award. Not our first, not our second in the last few years. So very exciting news, and we'll be present to accept that Innovation Award in the fall. We also received an award from Metro Magazine, recognizing another great innovation here at TriMet. If you've been out on the system, you may have noticed new digital displays, which we've now installed at every transit center and nearly every MAX station as well. We've also installed hundreds of displays at bus stops, even ones that don't have a place where you can plug in. So how do we do that? Well, we partnered with ConnectPoint to install e-paper displays at these bus stops with solar panels to power the displays so they don't need to be plugged in. E-paper has a display like a tablet reader, so there's no glare. And this solution is getting a lot of attention around the transit industry, and Metro Magazine has recognized it with their Innovative Solutions Award. As Eileen mentioned, we have a long history of continuous improvement and innovation, so very exciting. Congratulations to all of our employees who have been involved in these efforts. It's very rewarding to see it come to fruition. And so TriMet is known for our innovation, and we want to thank you for keeping us at the forefront. And with that, the General Manager's report concludes.
Any comments from board members on our awards? Yeah, okay. Thank you. And thank you, Shelley, for our general manager's report this morning. Sam, thank you. I'm calling him Silent Sam. I know it's...
That's rare.
Oh, that's okay. All right, let us turn now. Do we need our...
Do you want to do a break?
Yeah, let's do a break, see if Tyler...
She's
gets
planning to be
here.
here at 10?
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
Consent agenda is fine. Consent agenda is, consent agenda is good. So we don't need time
Either way.
until resolutions.
Let's give her, you want to? Okay. Hold up, we're going to do our consent agenda, which we don't need for our attending board member who's on her way. Let's turn to the consent agenda. Items appearing on the agenda are considered routine and may be approved by the board in one blanket motion. This morning, the consent agenda consists of 5 items. 1, approving the minutes of our last board meeting of May 28th, 2025. Resolution 250629, amending the general manager's level of contracting authority. Resolution number 250630, authorizing the transfer of appropriated funds within the 24-25 budget. Resolution 250631, memorializing the transfer of ownership and maintenance of the Gideon pedestrian overcrossing, now known as Bob Stacy Crossing, to the city of Portland. And finally, Resolution number 250632, authorizing a contract modification of the construction manager general contractor service contract with Mass Electric Construction Company for procurement of long lead equipment for 181st Avenue's element of the Type 1 tractor power substation replacement project. Does any director wish to have any of these items removed from the consent agenda? Okay. No?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
It has been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we'll take a 10-minute break. Thank you. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get started. My mic on? Yes, let's get started. Yeah. Okay. We need to start. All right, I think we've all settled in. Before we start and turn to our regular board meeting for our day's resolutions, I'd like to turn our attention back to our General Counsel, Shelley Devine.
Thank you, and again, I'm speaking on behalf of our beloved Sam Dessou on these next couple of matters. The first is Greg Skillman. Would you like to come up to the front table, please? Just about everybody in this room knows Greg, who has worked at TriMet since 2012, and he has worked since 2018 in the capacity of Senior Deputy General Counsel for Governance, which means he has been the behind-the-scenes, faithful, devoted, dedicated, reliable person who does the first pass of preparing most of the board resolutions, ordinances, board memos. He works with staff and subject matter experts to get the right details and facts. And Greg has let us know that he is going to be retiring and moving to Florida. In fact, this is his last in-person board meeting. In fact, he's getting in the car tomorrow, right? To begin a cross-country drive with his wife, Dana. In anticipation of that, Sam has a letter that he'd asked me to read to you, Greg, that will be given to you. So it's dated today. Dear Greg, 4 years ago this month, I became general manager of TriMet, and what a ride it has been. From COVID-19 to heat domes and wildfires to financial pressures and changes in ridership patterns, there have been many challenges along the way, which is why truly excellent job performance means so much to me. Working with people who consistently display a strong sense of personal responsibility and attention to detail relieves me of added pressures and allows me to focus on doing my own job better. This has certainly been the case working with you. Month in and month out, I have relied on you to prepare board memoranda, resolutions, and ordinances that inform the board, anticipate and answer their questions, and move our business forward in dozens of ways. Your dependability, thoroughness, and professionalism have been true gifts, and you are definitely leaving behind big shoes to fill. But after years of hard and good work, we all deserve an enjoyable retirement, so you are definitely due. I wish you and your family many wonderful years in your new Florida home. And if you ever return to Oregon to go hiking in your favorite mountains again, please come visit us. Thank you again for many years of exceptional work. You will be missed. Sam.
Thank you very much. It's been a true privilege. And I'll miss you all. Thanks again. Wow.
Thank you, Greg.
See you later.
Happy trails.
Greg, have a safe journey as you're driving. Yes. Okay, thank you.
We also had one other matter, and that is we didn't want the board meeting to go without acknowledging the passing of one of our beloved colleagues. Director of Security Pat Williams passed away at the end of last month, quite suddenly. He was out jogging on the Springwater Corridor and passed of natural causes. His memorial was June 13th, and I'm happy to report that it was widely attended. There were hundreds of people there, including dozens and dozens of people from TriMet. That's how beloved he was and how respected. He was given a full honor guard service I had never been to one of those before, and it was such a moving experience. There were so many people that spoke so wonderfully and sincerely about him and about what an incredible life. I kept the term "a man in full" is the term that kept coming to mind as I was listening at the memorial. But here to talk just briefly about him is his friend and colleague, Andrew Wilson.
Thank you, Board. This has been a tough couple weeks. So, but Pat was a tremendous guy, not only at TriMet, but in his community. Brenda, his wife, and his two daughters, Giovanna and Nicolina, are a testament to his character and who he was as a father and husband. And they both spoke, both girls spoke at the memorial service, and a letter was read by, that Brenda had written. And I'll just say, we all miss Pat. Pat was a kind of guy that was always there for you, for people here, but also in the community. He was a beloved member of this community. We had our agency luncheon yesterday with the transit chiefs in the area. We hold that at the public safety office, and we had a moment there, and it was just interesting to hear all of the people in the room share about Pat's influence over their life, how he helped them become a sergeant, you know, how Nicole Morrissey O'Donnell, the current sheriff, was an intern and rode around with Pat years ago, and that's what started her career. You know, little things, but he was a very, very good man. He's a trusted partner, and he'll be very, very missed. Yeah. So anyway, there's been a lot of celebration about him amongst the family, and we've put some things together here at TriMet to really honor Pat's real service here at TriMet with the family. And I could share more about some of those things that we put together, but it feels very good to celebrate him and his influence over a particularly trying time for TriMet. These last 4 or 5 years have been rough, and Pat was always there. He was not. He was always willing to add a little bit more value, and you know, I really can't say enough about the partnership with Pat and his influence at TriMet, and I'll probably just leave it there. But I will say, I could go on for days on Pat, but you know, he grew up in Gresham, bought his parents' house, is still living in it, so his wife and children are still there. Senior year of high school, won a championship. Football championship at the state level for Gresham High his senior year, comes back to the community, does 30 years at Gresham Police Force. He really was Mr. Gresham, and we talked about that. On the blade that we put together for him, the bus sign blade, which maybe we'll show a picture of, or send it to you guys so you could see it too, but at the bottom it said, relentless pursuer of public safety and storytelling. And that really did encapsulate Pat, so great stories.
Thank you, Andrew. We would like to just have one moment of silence to honor Pat. Thank you so much. And now that concludes the General Manager's report. Thank you very much.
Excuse me. Thank you, General Counsel. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. We'll now turn to the resolutions on our regular agenda. Resolution 5. The board will now consider Resolution 250633, amending the Strategic Financial Plan. General Manager, in his place, General Counsel, do you have any comments on the resolution?
Yes, thank you, President Lewis, members of the board. TriMet's Strategic Financial Plan is intended to guide the district's financial decisions, ensure that annual budgeting complies with policies, and promote long-term financial stability. Our current strategic financial plan must be updated and approved by the board to ensure alignment with existing policies, incorporate new financial policies, and provide a clear, organized, and transparent framework to guide the district's long-term financial planning and decision-making. Since the plan's initial adoption by the board in 2014, the board has approved numerous financial policies, which were later incorporated into the strategic financial plan, and it was again updated and amended in 2019 by the board. Since then, specifically in 2023, 2024, and again this year, the board approved additional financial policies and has made additional updates that now need to be included in an amended and restated financial plan. These more recent policies, plus additional financial policies, have been included in the proposed amended and restated financial plan, which is attached as Exhibit A to the resolution. It was provided to the board on May 29th to allow time for review, evaluation, and commentary. And this morning, we have Chief Financial Officer Nancy Young-Oliver here to provide an overview of what is included in the updated strategic financial plan. Nancy.
Great. Good morning, Director Lewis and members of the board. Just a real quick walkthrough of the changes that we've made. Advance, please. So bottom line, again, this is to ensure a long-term fiscally sustainable organization. Advance, please. In 2019, the strategic financial plan document had all the items listed there: the mission, the financial challenges, a discussion of revenues and expenditures, and then discuss the financial policies. The new document also incorporates all of those elements, but we've reorganized it to make a little bit more logical sense. In addition, we've added some risk and opportunities. We've fully called out what are fiscal guidelines, and then we've articulated existing and new financial policies. We've also expanded a section that has to do with reporting, monitoring, and compliance. Advance, please. I want to just focus on those financial policies and just summarize those. The first policy is those one-time only revenues and continuing expenditures. We made no change to this policy, so that continues as originally stated. We do have a new policy stated in the strategic financial plan. However, this is not actually a new policy to TriMet. This policy, the use of restricted assets, is listed in our audited financial statements in the summary of significant accounting policies. We felt that it made sense to put it into the SPF as well. The unrestricted minimum fund balance, we changed the title only by adding in the word minimum. So that range will remain between 2% and 2.5%, but we just added that one word to the title. The contingency policy, there is no change. It continues to be 3%, adjusted for anticipated actions coming up in the year. We have added a new policy which addresses reserves. This policy we felt was necessary given the last few years how we have set aside unspent funds from one year into a reserve to help us ward off that fiscal cliff. So as it stated, when the unrestricted revenues exceed operating expenditures in a fiscal year, finance will evaluate the funds in excess of the unrestricted minimum fund balance and set aside funds for future economic downturns or capital needs. Advance, please. The debt policy is incorporated as you approved it earlier in the year. We have revised pretty significantly the FAIR policy. The two main components of the FAIR policy that I want to call your attention to is that first, not less than every 2 years, TriMet will evaluate fares in light of the rising costs and make a recommendation to the board. And second, except in exceptional circumstances, we would increase fares at least every 4 years to help ensure pricing keeps pace with the cost of service, taking into consideration other factors. The investment policy is as you approved previously in the year, and the pension and OPEB funding policy also reflects the board's approval from previous in the year. Advance, please. So that's just a quick summary. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Nancy? Yes. Welcome, Director
Thank you all. Apologies for my lateness.
Thank you for putting this together, and I know that Directors Kim and Kellogg had a lot of work went into it, so thank you both for that. I had a question slash comment. And so under the capital asset management approach on page 6, I think it's the 4th bullet, sorry, my board packet isn't pulling up, so I'm going off my notes. That says only approve new projects and capital asset acquisition after determining adequate availability of resources to meet future operational and maintenance costs. I obviously stated good repair and ensuring that we can maintain our system and our infrastructure is critical, but I am worried that this language essentially creates sort of an automatic no for any major capital project. The reality of building and running a successful transit line and transit system is that you have to build capital projects and know that you are going to have to work to maintain them farther off in the future with resources you do not currently have. And the transit agencies that we have seen not take that approach are frankly transit agencies that are withering on the vine. So I am really uncomfortable with that language. I trust with our current leadership it would not be used in the way that I am worried it could be used, but I don't like having it in a document. And I would love to find a way to either soften it, saying like reasonable availability to meet immediate operational and maintenance costs, or something to acknowledge that we are going to have to build things that we don't know in 10 years how we're going to operate them. I mean, we don't know right now in 7 years how we're going to operate the system we have. And that doesn't mean we just say, well, we've got to stop everything. Because that is how our ridership declines. That is how we stop meeting the needs of this region. This region isn't going to stop growing just because we don't know what the payroll tax looks like in 10 years. So I would love to soften that language, acknowledging that I don't think it would be used in ways that could be harmful by current leadership, but it just makes me anxious to have it in there.
Great. Thank you, Director Frisbee. Just a couple comments on that. First, that's just in a guideline section. It is not a policy, so I really want to call that out, that we did not list that as a hardline policy. And just to acknowledge also, you know, in the region, we meet on a regular basis with Metro and other parties in the Tri-County area for what that expansion will look like in the future. And of course, that expansion, you know, today we are, you know, not clear on how it's going to be funded, but we continue to walk forward just as we are and have done with the 82nd Street and TV Highway FX projects that are underway.
Let me just drill down a little bit. I am hearing feedback from partners that people, that TriMet staff are explicitly saying in meetings, we cannot grow unless we know exactly how we're going to operate. And I'm worried about that. And I am worried that this feeds into that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Director Frisbee, I should have called for a motion before I went for, no, that was me. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 250633?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it has been moved in second. Does anyone from the board wish to add any additional comments before we vote? Yes, Director Kim.
Yeah, well, I was going to vote yea on this, but in light of Director Frisbee's comment just now, I think it would be good for, especially for such an important document such as this, for us to be fully aligned on all aspects of the document. So, Madam President, what can we do as the board to either wordsmith this or table this so that we can really be sure that we're all aligned? Instead of, you know, voting and having a you know, not fully aligned board.
Okay, I'm going to direct that question to General Counsel.
Sure, and I'll answer as General Counsel, but you could do a friendly amendment to add that language you just said about changing the word to reasonable, I think you said. And specifically, we were looking at the 5th bullet point in that section 6. Are you tracking?
4th and 5th in my notes, so
But
that wasn't very helpful.
we could soften that language And let's just specifically make the motion to amend to change the word to reasonable rather than, so that it doesn't sound quite like a mandate. Recognizing that it's under the guidelines section anyway, which already softens it from a policy. So you could make that motion, Director Frisbee, and have the board vote on the amended, whether or not to amend, and then you'd vote on the amended version.
So I'm going to postpone that's on the floor now for an motion.
We're going to entertain a motion from Director Frisbee if she
Okay.
wants to make a motion.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion thank you. I propose a motion on page 6 of the strategic financial document, section 3.3, the 5th bullet point, to delete adequate and insert reasonable. And yeah, I think that's sufficient. Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Okay, I'm going to call for a vote on the motion to amend.
There'll be an additional vote on.
Yes, then we'll go back, yes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion has passed. Now we will return to the original motion to pass. Yes, okay, so now we're back to additional comments on the first motion for Resolution 250634 that has been amended.
Copy. Thank you, President Lewis. Just a quick question. I wonder, I really do understand our transit systems need to continue expanding revenue, to continue providing service to the people who rely on us on a day-to-day basis. When I'm looking at section 4.7, our fare policy, it's not that I'm opposed to a consideration of fare increases, but I do also think that the language in that second bullet point under the financial section is a bit heavy-handed. It says, except in exceptional circumstances, increase fares at least every 4 years. There's not a built-in policy to consider alternatives to raising revenue, coordination with other public or private partners, other avenues that we might have to bring that same revenue to the table without having to continue increasing costs to the people who rely on our system every day. I wonder, and this is a question for the rest of the board, if folks might be open to a potential amendment to soften that language as well in that second bullet point, again, that says, except in exceptional circumstances, increase fares at least every 4 years. I wonder if we might be open to something more along the lines of consider increasing fares at least every 4 years, so that there's at least some mechanism for a conversation that feels a bit more collaborative and participatory from a public perspective.
Thank you, Director Flowers. I believe we have a policy when we actually set that 4 years.
So
Yes.
so when we worked together with Director Kellogg and Director Kim, there was a preference to make sure that at least like every 4 years, we're really considering a fare increase. Unless there is something out there that, like we're in the middle of a recession or something, that we would then not increase fares every 4 years. But the notion was to get back on a particular cadence, so it's not another 10 years before we raise fares again. The pursuit of additional revenue streams and opportunities is constant. We are always looking for those. We don't know, as stated earlier, what the STIF funding will be in the future, so that is another area to look at. Looking at the employer payroll tax, is there a different type of tax out there? There's all kinds of considerations out there that are being discussed internally. So it's not meant to prohibit the search for additional revenue streams or changes in other revenue streams. It's more an intent that We don't want another 10 years to go by without having raised the fares.
Any other directors with comments? Director
Yeah, I
Kellogg?
just wanted to supplement what Nancy was saying. So we had 2 meetings on this, and that was a focal point for both directors, Kim and I. So we added softening language, not only the except in exceptional circumstances, but at the end, taking into consideration other economic factors. So our approach was that this would be sort of a holistic review of where we are, and if we need to do this, is this our only way to do it? But as Nancy said, the idea was to at least have the serious discussion at least every 4 years. The bullet above it has not less than every 2 years to evaluate fares. And so saying at the end of that 4-year period, say, okay, let's really look into it and consider it across the board. So what we wanted to avoid was, I think, the impression you took that every 4 years fares are going up.
No,
Right? That's
not.
not our goal at all.
No.
This was just intended to say we need to have a serious look at it every 4 years.
Director Frisbee?
I think considering the intent then of this, I think maybe it certainly could be read to feel more heavy-handed than the intention. So I'm wondering, again, is there interest from the board and Director Flowers, as the person who raised this, which I appreciate, is there value? Because I will just say what I see is with the except in exceptional circumstances, I see a future board spending a lot of time debating what is or is not an exceptional circumstance, which would be a rousing conversation, but maybe not super valuable. Maybe we say considering fare increases or considering fares every 4 years to help ensure pricing keeps pace with the cost of service and inflationary impacts, taking into account other economic factors. And that way, it sort of builds on the staff are evaluating every 2 years, and the board considers the staff evaluation every 4, and that just feels a little less like except in exceptional circumstances. I think of exceptional circumstances as like, well, we currently live in exceptional circumstances, but hopefully that's not happening constantly. We'll be very tired. Would that do you think would that meet some of the needs, and would that capture the conversations that were had as part of the development here?
I think from my perspective, it would certainly meet the needs. I wonder, though, if it might go even further than what might be necessary here, right, in eliminating the portion of that bullet point that says, I think my main goal here would be to make this less directive and a little bit more of a consideration. So I wonder if even an insertion of the word consider between, right after the word circumstances, might be adequate to fulfill the needs that I'm trying to get to. So, for instance, except in exceptional circumstances, consider increasing fares at least every 4 years, right? So there's, again, built into this bullet point, a notion that that is a conversation rather than a directive that the board has to fulfill unless they can come up with some extraordinary reason not to.
Okay. Director Kim?
Thank you. Thank you for the comments. I personally like the language as is. I'm also open to amending it. Well, I personally like it because, you know, Director Kellogg and I, we've reviewed it and we thought it was proper. And so to give you my perspective, I think the backdrop of this is a couple of years ago, right, when the board, then current board, was tasked with truing up our fare level with in the context of where the prices have gone up in a healthy, regular inflationary economy, and our fare simply has not. And before I even considered the heart of the matter, I thought it was frankly unfair for my board then, because the past 2 rounds of boards have kicked the can on this completely
Yes.
without considering it,
10 years.
without having a discussion, public or not. So personally, I dislike that. And so moving forward, at the very least, you know, I like the consider language. At least the board must consider this in a thoughtful manner, in a serious, substantive manner. Otherwise, it's an unpopular thing to adjust the fare level to the inflationary activities. So my bottom line is that, you know, each board gets an opportunity to make sure that we're being good financial steward of our resources and the longevity of the system as a whole. And so unless there is sharper, more of a teeth, in a sense, in a strategic plan document that we would all honor as a collective, then, you know, it would be really easier for future boards to say, why don't we defer this for another 2 to 4 years? So long as we prevent our future selves, right, from, you know, looking the other way, I'm open to all sorts of amendments so that we can really have a solid, sustainable financial future for our agency with the levers that we can pull.
I hear you loud and clear and really agree with the central thrust of everything you're saying, Director Kim. I wonder if an additional word being built in there might help fulfill that need as you see it. What if we were to say strongly consider? Does that get to the ultimate outcome that you're trying to achieve here with this language?
I think it would, yes, strongly. And, you know, instead of, if this was a part of the debate, so you're seeing a little bit more flavor too. But for me, I in fact, at first was for more adjustment language instead of raising. Because we see, my default isn't wanting to raise fares. It's really wanting to true up to what the actual cost is with the increased cost of all the stuff and including services. Right. So in light of that, yes, strongly, I do like that addition, and, you know, if that would give you and, you know, Director Frisbee more peace about, you know, it not being a mandate except for the exceptional circumstances, then I would also like that, because I would love for the entire board, although we do have a couple absent today, the entire board to be able to get behind this document as a whole and say, we're not per se, you know, for fare increases, but what we are for is, you know, clean, healthy financial state of our agency, including strong consideration of the fare adjustments in light of the cost. Thank you.
So if you wanted to
Yes.
propose a motion, based on everything that you've discussed, that notes you'd like to make a friendly amendment to Section 4.7, the fair policy of the Strategic Financial Plan, specifically under financial, the second bullet point, so that it would read, except in exceptional circumstances, comma, strongly consider increasing fares at least every 4 years.
Yes.
Just,
You
so,
have, okay.
a couple things. First, thanks for the insightful comments. I think we can improve this. One of the overarching concerns we had was that this also creates an expectation with the public that we're going to be looking at this. So it
Yes.
won't be a surprise like Thomas talked about with the last experience on it.
Oh, yes.
So also, another point, you know, it's not plainly clear in here who has this role. And we're talking about now the board every 4 years. So I
Right.
think necessarily we need to include that to say the board every 4 years will strongly consider
Yes.
increasing fares and the rest of the
I
language.
agree.
I personally love that on this end.
Okay.
And I think it pairs very nicely with that first bullet point that concerns staff review.
Can I
Okay.
make,
Director Frisbee?
thank you, sorry. Can I make 2 friendly amendments to the friendly amendment? I don't know. Not that we're wordsmithing here, but I actually really appreciated Thomas's use, or Director Kim's use of the word adjust, because I think that also recognizes we have different fares for different riders. And there may be situations where some are increasing and some are decreasing. There may be other
Changes.
things, and so maybe, I would love that, if that, I'd really like that. And then this is a small grammarian moment, and you can tell me that this is not relevant. But if we're gonna put strongly consider adjusting fares, then can we say taking into account other economic factors? I recognize that is not a critical change, so you can laugh at me.
I'm sorry, can you clarify that?
Yes, sorry.
Taking into consideration
Let's
other
see.
economic factors, that language is already there.
Well, but I'm saying, since we now have consider in the clause before it, I would love to say taking into account
Oh, sure.
other economic factors.
So if I'm hearing correctly, the motion that you'd like to make, Director Frisbee, would, again, similar to what we just talked about, 4.7 of the fare policy under the strategic financial plan, second bullet point would now read, except in exceptional circumstances, comma, the board will strongly consider adjusting fares at least every 4 years to help ensure pricing keeps pace with the cost of service and inflationary impacts, comma, taking into account other economic factors.
Just one clarification there. I don't think we need except in exceptional circumstances anymore.
So-
So the way you have it worded, the board would consider, unless there were exceptional circumstances, it wouldn't consider? Right?
So,
We should consider.
Yeah, so I
And
think we
decide
can,
whether-
I think we can get rid of except in exceptional circumstances and then just go with the rest of it about adjusting fares.
okay,
So can I then make a friendly amendment to,
Let's just start from scratch.
yeah, okay. So I'd love to make a friendly amendment to amend section 4.7, the second bullet to read, the board will strongly consider adjusting fares at least every 4 years to help ensure pricing keeps pace with the cost of service, taking into account other factors, e.g. Title VI and inflationary impacts.
I think it's good.
Great.
I'm sorry. Can you do that one more time? I just want to make sure I've got it right.
Sure thing.
Your motion is to have 4.7, second bullet point, read as follows.
As follows. The board will strongly consider adjusting fares at least every 4 years to help ensure pricing keeps pace with the cost of service, comma, taking into account other factors, comma, e.g. Title VI and inflationary impacts.
Got it. That is the motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second, our second adjustment to the resolution. All in favor of the second adjustment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. Okay, it passes. Motion carries. Okay, we are back to the original motion for the overall resolution 250633 that includes 2 adjusting motions. I'm calling for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Okay. Thank you. And I'm going to take a presidential privilege here to remind the board of when our packets come out. This strategic financial plan has been part for the last 2 months to read and make sure the TriMet staff gets adequate changes that you may have before we come before to vote on them.
To be clear, it has not been in the packet the last 2 months. We got a
Okay.
draft copy a week ago.
May
No.
29th.
No.
It was loaded to the portal.
Yes, yes.
Oh, in the portal, but not in the packet.
Well, the packet comes out, yeah.
Yeah, the packet comes out, but that's not the same thing as the portal.
It's this identical,
It was loaded to the portal on May 29th.
yes.
That's part of
Mhm.
whatever Nancy gave.
Yep,
But it wasn't part of the packet. It wasn't part of the board packet.
this packet, yes.
Yes, this one, but not the main. It was,
Yes.
yeah, it was this packet, but it was not the main packet.
We'll make sure in the future that the board is alerted when you get something out of cycle. Like, and we've done that in the past, like with the agency safety plan, things that are more complicated and take longer to review. We usually try to send them at least the preceding month.
Because it did come out earlier
Yes.
for us.
Fair enough.
when it first came out, yes. Okay, thank you.
Duly noted.
Thank you. Okay, and so we will get them ahead of time. All right. We will now consider Resolution 250634, authorizing a contract with Arrowhead Drug Screening LLC. General Counsel, do you have comments for this resolution?
Yes, thank you, President Lewis, members of the board. As a public transit provider, TriMet is subject to DOT and FTA drug and alcohol regulations. These regulations require TriMet to have a drug and alcohol program and conduct drug and alcohol testing of employees who are involved in safety-sensitive positions. Those safety-sensitive positions include bus and rail operators, maintenance personnel, safety and security employees, supervisors, and similar personnel. That's about 2,700 members of our workforce, or about 75% of our staff. To carry out our program, TriMet employs a third-party drug and alcohol administrator, testing administrator, assisted by a drug and alcohol program specialist. The program is designed to help prevent collisions, injuries, and fatalities resulting from the misuse of alcohol or prohibited drugs by safety-sensitive employees. We also test employees who have been involved in incidents or collisions promptly after the event occurs. Because TriMet operates 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, we must be able to conduct testing every day and across all hours of operations, including weekends and holidays. As the current contract for our drug and alcohol testing administrator is expiring, TriMet issued an RFP and received 5 proposals. Arrowhead was determined to be the best value for TriMet and was awarded a 5-year contract for $1.6 million. Sam recommends your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 250634?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and second. Does anyone wish to comment before we vote? Oh, Director Kellogg.
And I'd like to have Jeff come up for his monthly inquisition.
In here.
Jeff doesn't think that was funny.
To be clear, this isn't about the subject matter or the award. What I'm concerned about here is the process. So just to cover, you had 5 people initially, gave their bids, brought them all in. Was the intention always to have a second set of interviews?
It was, I'm not sure that I know, so to be clear, but my understanding is that there was only interviews of the 2 proposals that were in the competitive range.
Right.
Or that we only requested BAFOs from them, so I admit that I'm not totally clear.
Okay, so my concern is that the scoring on the initial round, it's all the same categories and same questions, and ultimately, you know, the highest score from the first round prevailed, but the gap between the 2 doubled. And in fact, some of the changes were seemingly radical. For example, qualifications of the proposer, the first contractor was a quarter of a point better than the other, and then the next round, they were a 1.5 points less.
Can
So
I
I'm
make a
just-
suggestion to
Yeah.
bring up our Director of Environmental Services and Safety, Craig McDonald?
Sure.
He might be able to address that specific
Okay.
issue.
Good morning, President Lewis and Board. Yes, so we went to the second round, and we start with kind of a clean slate on the second round. So when we were down to the interviews for the 2 people, and we had in-person interviews with the second round, then we regraded everything based on what we had learned from the interviews versus what they had. So the first round, we get the proposals back, we review the proposals and look at them all, and then we decide who the best 2 are for those proposals. Then after that, we have a second round where we have the 2 proposals that we like brought in, actually face-to-face, while one was out of state, and we did a WebEx. And then we have a second round, and we ask the questions again. They both get the same questions, and then they answer, you know, and we just decide, we regrade them at that point. They get regraded against each other as 2.
Yeah, my concern was just that maybe the goalposts had moved between the first set of interviews and the second, and if some of those folks who didn't qualify in the first round had a different set of questions, see people in the second round, maybe their scores would have been different. So again, it's not about the subject matter of the award, it's about the process. And, you know, I'm not saying there was anything wrong, I'm checking in on it, just to clarify.
Yeah, good clarity.
And that's just how we ran the process through
Okay, thank you.
the bidding process.
Thank you for the clarity. Any other questions from directors? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Thank you, and thank you for the clarity. You're welcome. Thank you, Greg. We now will consider Resolution 250635, authorizing Amendment Number 16 to the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Portland for streetcar operations. General Counsel, do you have any comments on the resolution?
Yes, thank you, President Lewis, members of the board. TriMet and the City of Portland have operated the Portland streetcar jointly since its inception in 2001. In 2012, the board authorized the general manager to execute a streetcar master agreement and a streetcar operating agreement with the city. The streetcar master agreement sets out the policy, coordination, and decision-making, and all the structure, the overriding structure of the streetcar. The streetcar operating agreement is a supporting IGA that governs operations, personnel, operation and maintenance, and funding for streetcar. Under that IGA, the operating IGA, TriMet provides unionized operators and maintenance personnel. The city, under that operating agreement, 1, pays for all streetcar rolling stock, equipment, and maintenance. 2, provides managers and supervisors. And 3, reimburses TriMet for wages and part of the benefits of streetcar operators and maintenance personnel. The streetcar operating agreement also requires TriMet to pay the city a share of annual streetcar operating costs with the specific funding amount determined by the parties each year. That's what this is. Amendment 16 is this year's amendment to the streetcar operating agreement. We have both Jeff Rogers, who's going to come back up, and Nancy Young, Oliver, to answer any questions that the board might have about this. But Sam recommends your approval.
Okay. Thank you, General Counsel. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 250635?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and second. Does anyone wish to comment before we vote? Director Frisbee.
As someone whose district has a lot of streetcar lines in it, I'm pleased to see this move forward. I know that there have been complicated relationships around this, and I just want to take this moment to emphasize how much, from my perspective, and frankly from the public's perspective, the number of emails I get from folks in my district asking me about streetcar is very significant. They do not distinguish between those services, and I think it behooves us to take a real partner approach with Portland Streetcar Inc. and understand that that all feels very similar. I really appreciate efforts to increase the number of operators that they have. Recently, I know that that has been a struggle, and when I've looked at their ridership numbers and asked them what's going on, that's one of the challenges that I hear, so I'm glad we're helping them try to address that. And I hope that this IGA gives us a little bit of a reset opportunity and a chance to move forward with the city and with PSI as partners in offering a transit service that a lot of people use interchangeably. I know frequently I'm like, am I taking the MAX? Am I taking the streetcar? Like, I'm downtown, I gotta get here. And so I appreciate this coming forward today and thank everyone for their work.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff and Nancy. We will now consider Resolution 250636, authorizing intergovernmental agreements with Metro, Washington County, and the cities of Beaverton, Hillsborough, Cornelius, and Forest Grove for the Tualatin Valley Transit and Safety Project. General Counsel, do you have any comments on the resolution?
Yes, thank you, President Lewis, board members. The Tualatin Valley Highway Transit and Safety Project envisions a 16.2-mile FX bus line running along Oregon Highway 8 and the route of TriMet's current Line 57 between Beaverton and Forest Grove. The project will lay the groundwork for TriMet's third frequent express bus line following the FX2 division, which opened to riders in 2022, and the 82nd Avenue Transit Project, which is scheduled to open in 2029. The TV Highway project is currently one of the highest transit priorities in the state, and Metro, Washington County, and our partner jurisdictions are all, as you know, very keenly involved in this. Those partners and the TriMet board recently adopted, as you know, the locally preferred alternative, or LPA, for the project. Once Metro approves the LPA, it will be included in Metro's fiscally constrained regional transportation plan as required by the FTA. TriMet will be the lead agency for project development and construction. During the project development phase of the project, TriMet must accomplish the following things. 1, complete the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, process. 2, develop sufficient information for the FTA to determine a project rating. 3, develop design and cost estimating plans through a, quote, 100% issue for construction set, end quote. And 4, coordinate with FTA's project management oversight consultant to develop a project risk assessment and readiness report. Those project development tasks that I've just identified are estimated to cost about $25 million. All of the partners in these AGAs that we've mentioned have committed and agreed to contribute about $16.2 million of that 25. And TriMet will expend about $8.9 million in general funds in support of the project development work, which will be done over FY26 and FY27. Approval of the resolution will authorize the execution of these IGAs with our various partners and demonstrate to the FTA, importantly, that TriMet is able to commit the requisite $25 million in funding to the project. And Sam recommends your approval.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 36, excuse me?
So moved.
Sorry. We were plotting Forest Grove and Cornelius.
Oh, okay. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, it's been moved in second. Does anyone wish to comment? Director Kellogg, I heard you coming up there.
And General Counsel Devine, this may be a question for you. So the text of the IGA wasn't included, so I don't know the answer to this, but you mentioned this is an estimate of $25 million. If it's 26, 27, 28, is it a pro rata share on the increase, or is that one person's single liability?
I actually think that's more of a question for the Director of Major Projects, Jamie Snook, if she's here, can come up, or David Alwis. Thank you, David. Or Sean, I see Sean standing, Sean Batty.
So this is a topic that has come up as we've discussed these IGAs. It is not simple, but we have agreed that there is kind of some muddy ground between, when we're transitioning between project development and construction. They overlap in terms of their term, right? And so as we work through this, we're going to be making every effort to keep it within our $25 million project development budget. That's how we're looking at it. But there's some flexibility for, some borrowing between the construction and the project development. It's not something that we're planning on doing, but we're going to work with our partners. If we do run into a situation where we're clearly not able to complete project development, we have language within the IGAs so that we're come together and have a conversation. So In the dispute resolution section, we specifically identify how we would come together as a group to discuss those kind of complicated things. That's just one of the complicated things. There's several others, but yeah, the dispute resolution section is where we're trying to address those issues, because we can't know what's going to happen, and so we're just trying to set ourselves up for success when we do run into a hiccup like that.
Yeah, no, it's comforting to know there's a process.
Yeah.
And it's just that I hadn't seen it, so I wanted to verify that.
You bet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Did that answer? Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board? Okay. Okay, seeing none, call for a motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, this motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, David and Sean. Okay, we have some housekeeping matters. ORS 267.120 requires the TriMet Board to elect officers every 2 years. At the July 2024 board, July 24, 2024 board meeting, Director Ozzie, that really kind of threw me there. I know, it was like, oh, okay. Yeah, like former President Ozzie Gonzalez, who had been elected in July of 2023, resigned from the board. His resignation resulted in a special out-of-cycle election of board officers in which I was elected, that's that personal speaking self here, I was elected president to finish Ozzie's term, and Thomas Kim was elected vice president to complete Keith Edwards' term. Director Kathy Wade continued serving as secretary-treasurer. At this time, the out-of-cycle concludes for Director Kim and me, and Director Wade has completed, all of us, our 2-year term as secretary-treasurer. The board now will be returning to its regular election cycle, which means it is time to hold our regular statutory officer elections for a term of 2 years. Therefore, I would like to propose the following slate of officers. There's hesitation here. Laverne Lewis, President. Thomas Kim, Vice President. Tyler Frisbee, Secretary-Treasurer. If elected, we will assume office effective July 1st. That's round the corner, 2025. Is there a motion to approve the nomination of this slate of officers?
So moved.
Oh, geez, it's quick. Is there?
My name's not on that.
A little humor, thank you for the humor. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and second that the TriMet board officers will be Laverne Lewis, President, Thomas Kim, Vice President, and Tyler Frisbee, Secretary-Treasurer. Does anyone wish to comment before we vote?
I feel like we should give Kathy a little send-off. We will.
We will, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, I got to stop and give a hug to our secretary. And new VP.
The dream team.
Dream, well, okay. All right, continuing housekeeping matters. ORS Chapter 267 authorizes general manager to establish committees, and the TriMet Code 2.35 authorizes the board president to appoint members to serve on various committees. These committees help ensure that the board effectively conducts its policy-level oversight on the affairs of the district. With respect to board committees' assignments, the general manager and the board president consult regarding proposed assignments, and then the board votes to confirm those appointments. The board recently confirmed committee members in September of 2023 by Resolution 230939. Then again on October 23, 2024, when Aaron Graham and J.T. Flowers joined the board. I made the interim committee appointments for them at that time. Now, after consultation with the general manager by text, didn't talk to him, he didn't speak, the receiving input from board members, I am appointing the following board members to the committees listed below that I'll read off shortly here for a 2-year term effective July 1st, a few days. Accountability Committee, Robert Kellogg. The alternate will be Aaron Graham. The ATU TriMet Defined Pension Trust Fund, Thomas Kim. Alternate, J.T. Flowers. Crash Advisory Committee, Robert Kellogg. Alternate, Laverne Lewis. Committee on Accessible Transportation, CAT, Aaron Graham. Alternate, Kathy Way. Finance and Audit Committee, Laverne Lewis. The chair, Thomas Kim, which is Thomas Kim, the chair. I should have said that before. And Tyler Frisbee with an alternate of Kathy Way. The Metropolitan Policy Advisory Committee, MPAC, is J.T. Flowers with an alternate of Tyler Frisbee. The Transit Equity Advisory Committee, TEAC, will be Kathy Way, alternate Laverne Lewis. And Ad Hoc Land Use Committee will remain with Kathy Way and Robert Kellogg. Finally, even though Director Way's term as Secretary-Treasurer is complete, she has graciously agreed to be interim Secretary and Treasurer during Tyler Frisbee's leave for new baby. Okay. I would like to call for a vote to confirm these committee appointments. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Any discussion? You're not getting any discussion here. This is it. No? Okay, no, okay. It's like, how many things? Okay. How about you? Happy with your committees? Okay, excellent. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. That concludes our formal business for today. Please note that our next regular meeting board meeting is Wednesday, July 23rd here in the boardroom. There is no August meeting, so just, don't celebrate. We will have probably a long meeting in September. That's usually the case, so come prepared. Remember that we'll take a quick break and then we'll have a briefing from John Garner, our Executive Director on Public Access and Innovation, regarding the update on our federally required Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, DBE plan. We'll now break and reconvene in 10 minutes. Okay. Everybody happy with their committees? I didn't hear any feedback. Okay. Yep.
And we're gonna do a little sausage making, that was fun.
You guys are just in rare form today. I love it. I love it.